I like that you said spring seminar. We're just going to skip winter and go right into spring, especially if you're in the room. It's like spring on the side. It's so nice and sunny and warm. Welcome back, everybody. For those of you in person, it's really nice to see faces again and see bodies. So thanks for coming and being part of our community. And when you're online, thank you too. Thanks for showing up and being part of this online community. We will start on your back, or if you're comfortable sitting, please feel free to sit. We always take the first 2 to 5 minutes to settle and breathe. So finding a really supportive shape. You can sit on the floor if you need a blanket or a block to sit up on. You could go sit in a chair. Feel free to lie all the way onto your back. It might be helpful to let your knees bend and let your feet be flat on the floor. That's a little easier on your low back. And then giving yourself time and patience. Intentionally slowing down. Intentionally allowing your physical body to find some stillness. And a gentle reminder that you have total agency over your practice. Meaning if something does not feel safe or supportive, comfortable, you can back out at any time. You can come back to this seated or lying back constructive rest shape whenever you need to. No questions asked. You can come back to this shape, find, reconnect back into your body. And as your body finds this stillness, I'm going to be quiet for a little bit, just giving you an opportunity to hear, listen for your breathing, and feel your breath. If you're in the room with a mask on, your mask will give you quite a bit of feedback. Try, as long as it doesn't create anxiety or tension, try to breathe in and out through your nose, nice and light. Trying to take authentic breath, meaning your body will breathe for you. So your mind becomes more of an observer and less of a doer. So we allow the mind to watch the body. We could feel the body breathing. If you think it would be helpful, you could put a hand on your chest and then take the opposite hand onto your lower rib cage and connect the breath between your hands. So knowing that we are all very different, I know for me, when I'm breathing in a mask, I tend to be more of a chest breather and less of a diaphragmatic breather. And so the bottom hand helps us feel the ribs. You might feel some of your abdominals. And checking in, we want to try to have that healthy movement of the diaphragm. So as you inhale, Your ribs get wide. You might feel like your belly's a balloon filling up. And as you exhale, the belly releases and your ribs draw in. Your chest might relax a little bit. I'm going to stay quiet for about 30 seconds, giving you that opportunity again to listen and feel your body breathing. And as you feel your body breathing, noticing your present time experience, check in. How do you feel physically? How do you feel energetically? What do you need from this next, 40 minutes together in your practice? And then letting your arms come down by your side. We're going to come onto your back. So if you're sitting, rolling down onto your back, and your arms can come just a little wider than your mat. So you could keep your pointer finger and your thumb on your mat and take your middle ring and pinky finger off of the mat. You can have a little bend in your elbows. And then just feeling and tracing your spine into the mat. So if you start at the back of your head, feeling that neutral curve in your neck, going down nice and long between your shoulder blades. So that middle spine, nice heavy back ribs. And then we go south, lower, soft curve in your lower lumbar spine. And then we end up nice and wide and heavy through the back of the pelvis and nice and heavy into the feet. And then the awareness of your front abdominals really helping support this posture. We're going to do a little bit of core wake up. So see if you can keep your spine in this S curve. Not a lot of rocking side to side or shifting, not a lot of arcing in the back. We're going to press into the left shoulder, hip, and foot a little more and float your right knee up over your right hip. You can either flex or point the toes, your choice. And then you're going to lower the right leg back down to the floor. 2 more like that, pushing a little into the left side, down, creating that floating knee, feeling right knee up over the hip and lowering it down. So we'll inhale the knee up and exhale the knee, foot to the floor. Come back to your constructive rest baseline. So reset yourself, maybe trace your spine into neutral again. And then grounding a little more through the right side, float your left knee up over your left hip. Point or flex your foot, your preference. Exhale, lower the leg back down. 2 more. So lifting that knee from the core. Can you feel a connection like your leg is a lever coming from the deep internal abdominal core area? And then we'll put your left leg down on the floor. Or I should say technically your left foot, and come back to your baseline. Take a couple breaths. And then a little more challenging, we'll pick up both legs with an inhale, bring both knees up over the hip, and exhale with control, lower both feet back down. Now, if this is a little too much for you and you're doing this and you're getting a really big arc in your back, go back to side, okay? So test it out. If it's too hard, it doesn't mean you're not strong. It just means it's a little challenging. And you're going to come back and do side to side again. So we'll take a little bit of time, maybe 10, 15 more seconds. And then we'll bring both feet back to the ground, come back to your baseline constructive rest pose and give yourself a couple breaths. So I don't know about anyone else. I really noticed when I was taking my knees down and my feet to the floor, I was tensing quite a bit up in my chest. There was a lot of grip in my chest. So we're going to work a little bit with that as we bring your arms a little wider out by your side. We're going to push into the floor with your feet and float your hips up to a little low bridge. And we're going to hold the bridge up for just a couple moments and bring some extra awareness into your chest. And see if you can just feel nice and wide. And as you exhale, letting your lower ribs draw down into your hips a little more. So navel feeling like it might be drawing down into your spine, nice and long through your low back and your low belly. Then we'll put the hips back down on the floor. And when you feel the hips either side to side or both legs, inhale, float back up over your hips. Exhale, control the feet back down to the floor. Push the feet into the floor and come up to your bridge. Chest, in your awareness, trying to keep the chest a little softer, a little less tension, a little stronger in your low belly as you lift the knees, as you lower the knees and feet, and then connecting into your glutes and your hamstrings, back of the legs into your bridge. So moving from your breathing, we'll do about 3, 4, 5 more. Moving at your own pace. If it's really easy for you and you want a lot more challenge, imagine your legs weigh a lot more, right? Like your legs are like 25 pounds each. And you're working slow and controlled. A little energetic challenge is that you're not holding this up in your throat. You're not holding a lot of tension across your chest. So as you continue, I'm just going to roll up and check and look around the room. Excellent. And then as you roll up into this next bridge, we're going to hold our bridge for a moment. So feet come down, pressing into the heels, maybe a little more, lift the hips. And then this idea of length and stretch through the front of the hip. Imagine your knees pressing forward over your toes, nice and strong through your low belly and your low back. Your knees energetically going forward, forward, forward. And then maybe lifting your hips as high as your knees. Maybe go slow because we're not super warmed up into this yet. It's a really big stretch for your hip flexors that live on top of your hip bones. And just pause, notice your present time experience, come down if you need to, or hang out for 2 more breaths. Try to keep breathing through your nose as you lower your hips back down. And we all come back down and just check in. Give yourself maybe 2 or 3 more breaths. Again, if you're in class, if you're in the room, right, trying to breathe in and out through your nose might be a little challenging with your mask on. Just paying attention, feeling, letting the mask give you some feedback. If you're at home, in and out, gentle breathing through your nose, light breathing. And then with your exhale, we're going to either roll over or roll all the way on up to sitting. So we'll roll on up. Sweet. And then we're going to bring your feet out in front of you. So if you have really tight hips, if this hurts your low back, if you're at home, you can grab a block or a blanket. If you're in class here in the room, we're just going to suffer through it. So we're going to sit up and we're going to, each one of us, define belly button to pubic bone and then lower lumbar spine. Okay. So belly button to pubic bone, lower lumbar spine. We want to try and understand the feeling of strength and length. Okay. So I hear a lot of times in class the cue of pull your navel back to your spine. Maybe you hear that cue a lot. And in my own body, when I do it too much, I round forward like this. Okay. So we just want to have this awareness that we're engaging. We can feel, this round cummerbund, nice and strong, but we don't want to necessarily round forward. Okay. So give yourself a few moments to sit up, finding an authentic, long, natural, kind of easy shoulders, easy chest, easy throat posture. And as you exhale, can you feel how your navel naturally draws back towards your spine? You don't have to like muscularly really contract it or pull it more. Just trying to feel that when you inhale, your belly button kind of goes out that way. And when you exhale, it draws in. Okay. So it might feel a little bit like a deep hug. And then we want to ground the sit bones and lift up. Now, you can hold on to the back of your legs, is going to make it a little less challenging. You can hold your arms out. You're going to sit back until you get to your quiver. And you're going to try and keep that low belly and that low back really long. You're going to feel that quiver and you're going to pull yourself back up. Okay. So we're all going to go at our own pace and rhythm, sitting back and pulling ourselves forward. Okay. Inhale back. Exhale, pull yourself forward. Now, if you want a lot more challenge, we're going to do 3 more. Try to keep this feeling of ease and openness in the chest and really pay attention to the hips. So it's really easy to sit way, way, way back and then almost like over grip and pull yourself from the hip. We're trying to keep a little more space and ease in the hip and a little more ease in the shoulder and work here. Next time you pull yourself forward, we're going to sit up. We're all going to take our arms straight ahead like we're doing a handshake. Okay. Your right arm's going to swing wide and we're going to twist around to the right. You can take your left arm if you want onto your right leg and push. So your arm can push into your leg and your leg can push back. And then we're going to come all the way back around. Try to keep your belly button and those 2 pelvic crests facing forward as you go around to the left. So again, your right arm can come on your left leg and you can push your leg and arm and twist and come back. So 2 more on your own here. Little more curious, how far can you take your rib cage and your shoulder around, keeping your pelvis and your belly button straight ahead? So letting this exercise pose be more about curiosity than doing it right or wrong. You're trying to find some rotation along with a whole lot of low belly, low back stability. And then we'll come back around to the center. Hands can rest down on your legs. We'll just look down towards the floor and take about 3, 4, 5 breaths. Again, come back to your present time experience. And for you, maybe your present time experience comes like right back into your body. Maybe you use your breath to help anchor you into your experience. Maybe you use the weight, the feeling of your body on the earth to help anchor you. Remember, we're all really different. We'll take 2 breaths. And then we're going to sit back up and you're going to find your quiver spot. You're going to sit back down, back. If you need to hold on to your legs, do it. If you want a little more challenge, and then you're going to pull yourself up. Try to keep your belly and your hips straight ahead. Go to the right. Come back, sit back to your quiver. Pull yourself up, go to the left. 2 more, so a total of 3 to each side. In between, you're doing your quiver. If you want a lot more challenge, you can sit back to your quiver and you can pull yourself up and try and lift your legs, okay? So maybe you're pulling yourself up or going back and trying to lift the legs up a little bit. I'm not that strong right now, but maybe you are. So maybe you're sitting back and you're pulling one leg up and twisting, right? So you can add on and you can make the exercise more physically challenging. We all want to stay with our breathing and stay in control. And then once you've done 3 to each side, we're going to pull ourselves up. Just sit forward, maybe come forward a little bit. If your toes were up, you could let your toes rest down towards the floor and just pause and come back for 3 breaths. Soften where you can soften. Maybe that's your mind. Maybe that's your shoulders. Maybe that's your breath. And then with an exhale, sitting back up. And then let's come to tabletop. So give yourself a few moments to transition around. When you come, build a nice foundation through your hands. All right. So you can look down. Either your index fingers or your middle fingers can be parallel. And then take a moment to really stretch and spread the fingers as wide as is comfortable for your hands. So spread the hands nice and energetic. Thumbs can isometrically pull together. And then finding that tabletop, ears in line with shoulders, ribs, and hips. And then we're just going to go nice and slow. Pull the shoulders forward over the wrists a little bit. Push from your back all the way into the floor through your arms and sit back a little bit. All right. So as you're going forward, trying to keep your spine in that neutral S curve. As you push back, see how far you can push your hips back, your shoulders back before your spine wants to move. Okay, so let's start at your table. Find your neutral spine. Okay, you can walk your hands out wider if you wanted to. You could walk your arms out in front of you more if you wanted to. Walk them back, rotate them around, right? Be creative. If your wrists are tight, move them around for a little bit. Okay. Then come back, wide fingers, strong base. Keeping your spine neutral, see how far you can pull your shoulders forward towards the front of your mat before your spine wants to change shape. From your upper back, push into your arms to push yourself back. So like your upper back shoulder blade down through your tricep into the floor. All right, if this is going along and it's, you know, whoa, I want a little more, straighten your right leg. Maybe push a little more, ground a little more. Maybe you bend your right leg and straighten your left leg. If this is coming along and you want to progress, you can bend both knees and do this in floating table. Lift your knees just a little bit up off of the floor. If this is all way too much and you need a break, sit back and stretch out your wrists. So everyone's unique and different. If you want to keep going, you could work on this from floating table or even a plank. And then coming back from floating table and pushing yourself forward into like a plank. You can rest. So we'll spend about 5 more breaths here. Everyone finding just the right challenge for them, stretching, resting, or working in, you know, floating table or plank or table. Great. And then we'll come back and we're going to stretch out your feet a little bit. So you can tuck your toes underneath and then sit back on your heels. Okay. So kind of go slow the first time. See how that feels on the arches of your feet, and then walk your hands back and sit up and put a little more weight there. Okay, if it's too much, woo, come right off, okay? So your bum is on your heels, your arches are getting a nice stretch and your toes are tucked under. If it's a little much for the arches of your feet, you can point your toes and stretch out the tops of your feet and sit back like that. Okay. We're going to swing your arms forward and up and then down and back. So keeping in awareness that we don't want to push the chest forward like this. And as the arms swing forward, right, we don't really want to arch or round like this. So ears, shoulders, ribs, hips, can we keep those points in our awareness? Ribs drawing down and back, navel in. And we're going to swing the arms up and back 2 more times. This second time here, when your arms swing back behind you, ooh, pay attention to your pec muscles here. So if you have really tight pecs, you might want to take your arms out a little wider. Okay. And it's really easy to push your chest forward. So remembering the ribs draw down, exhale, ribs draw back. Okay. So ribs over hips, and you're reaching the arms back. Reach, reach, reach. Okay. If it's really tight, honor that tension and take them a little wider. Okay. And just pulse your arms in, kind of like you're pressing into a beach ball. And then pull in. Imagine you have a block or a ball there and you're pushing in. And then you're going to exhale, swing your arms up and sit back. And then pull yourself up. You might have a little extension. You might push your pubic bone forward a little bit and sit back. 3 more. Then come on up to kneeling with your arms back. Swing the arms forward. And then we're going to try and bring your right knee forward into your 90-90 lunge. Woo, and stand all the way on up. Yeah, woo, we did it. And then just hang out. So if you're in the room and you want to look out at the beautiful lake, it's so beautiful today. And we don't get the ice for very long, so feel free to turn and look outside if you'd like. Find, feel, standing mountain. Check back in with your breathing. If you want to put a hand on your chest and one on your lower rib cage to check and connect the breath, if that's helpful, do that. We're going to take about 5 breaths. Again, trying to stay present and with the breath. Let your breath be an anchor into your body. You take a full inhale and a full exhale. And then let your arms come down. So looking down at your feet, you can spread your toes nice and wide like we did with our hands. And we're just going to warm up slow here. You're going to take your hip creases back and your knees forward. So knees out over your middle toes. And then we're going to come up 2 more times. Sweet. And I see people in the room already starting to use your arms. So that is exactly where we're going. A little bit like what we just did on the floors. You can swing your arms forward, come up, swing your arms back. Get a little pelvic extension. Maybe your pubic bone presses forward a little bit. And you come back into a little chair. Push up. Okay. So then we're going to come up to standing mountain. Take a couple breaths. So do you remember when we started and we were doing bridge and we were trying to keep this connection nice and strong from your belly button to your pubic bone and through your low back? So as you're standing here in your mountain, you can start to push your pubic bone forward a little bit. Your hip bones are going to tip back. You're going to stretch a little bit through the front hips. And just being a little mindful. Can you keep your ribs down and in? Nice and long from belly button to pubic bone. Trying to keep some length in your low back. And then you might bend your knees. And then it'll be a lot more challenging to take your arms up and back. And then we lengthen and we exhale, bend the knees and fold all the way forward. Inhale, when you're ready, lift your chest. Exhale, fold. And then your hands can walk forward and your feet can come back. We'll take a moment, build downward facing dog. Now remember, you can use a chair or a table, a wall. So if being on the floor is a little too much, find a higher surface. Remembering really strong hands, wide hands. Checking in. Notice what you feel. Bend your knees a little bit. Find your hip creases and draw your hip creases way back. Imagine there's a string pulling your butt cheeks back. Pulling your hip creases. Good. Let your head hang 2 breaths. Exhale, feet walk up to your hands, or your hands can walk back. And then slowly come all the way on up. Take a full body stretch. And exhale, hands to the side. All right, let's work a little bit on some balance. But before we balance, let's take your feet wide. Find a really nice strong base. So heels in, toes out. Define your hip bones. Okay. So we're going to try and keep your hip bones set and stable, and then find your ribs up to your shoulders. So your ribs and your shoulders are going to rotate around. We're going to look to the right. Your pelvis hopefully didn't move a whole lot. Then you come back and go over to the left. 2 more times to the right When you're ready, to the left, to the right, and then to the left. All right, and then come back. So we want to learn how to stabilize the pelvis and move from the ribs and the shoulders. Okay, let's do it in a balance. So we're going to step your feet together. If you're in Monona Terrace, we're going to look out so we have a beautiful view. Okay, we're going to ground through both legs, feel our balance, and then incrementally go into more of a balance. We're going to pick up your right heel and maybe pick up your right knee and hang out for a moment. Taking your left arm out in front of you, cross your left arm over to your right knee. Okay, if having your leg up is too much, bring it down and just bring your arm across and step your feet wide, okay? So you're either balancing, okay, or you have your feet wide and your arms out across you. Your right arm comes up and then we spin to the right. Yeah. And if you fall, that means you're really trying. Yeah. Well, and it's okay to wobble, right? And come back and shake it out. Kind of laugh it off. It's okay. All right. So option one, you can do the twist from a wide stride, right? Right arm comes across. Stabilize your hips. Okay. Option two is going to be a little bit harder. You're going to pick up your left heel. Pick up your left knee. Bring your right arm across. Push your arm and leg together. Left arm comes around. Woo. And I don't know about anyone else. I mean, for me, balancing is all about mind-body connection. And it's really about my mind trying to stay with my breath not getting crazy, or if my breath gets crazy, my mind trying to calm it down. Awesome. And then just notice your experience and come on back. And just let all the limbs come back down. And just shake it out. Yeah. Whew. And then let's walk to the back of your mat. And take a nice full exhale and sweep your arms out and up. Inhale, bend your knees, fold forward. Either hang out in your forward fold or come back to standing, or if you'd like, slide your hands out to your downward facing dog. We'll all take 3 to 5 breaths. You could be in down dog. You could be in a standing forward fold. You could be in standing meditation. Coming back to feel your body breathe. We're all going to make our way back down into a tabletop. So figuring out how you're going to come down to your table. And then from your table, sitting back and bringing your legs back out in front of you. So you can have a little bend in your knees like so, or you could go for staff position, letting your legs come a little straighter. Okay. So here or here. Hands can be down by your hips, flat palms, or on your knuckles. Maybe your hands come together. Okay. So finding belly button to pubic bone. Finding your low back, coming full circle. Remember how we started. Long, low belly, long, low back. And then we take your left arm out in front, handshake, right arm out in front, handshake. Right arm's going to open up. We're going to spin to the right. Little different than how we started. If you want that challenge, sit back to your quiver and stretch your arms out, 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 reach. Exhale, come back up. Both arms come forward. Left arm reaches out, we spin. Can you feel how your rib cage and your shoulders spin, but your left hip point stays facing forward, your belly button more forward, and then reach. Maybe sit back to your quiver. And then pull yourself up. One more time over to the right. Skip it if you're getting tired. How do you know when you should skip? If you have lost concentration and control, that's a good time to rest. So you might sit back to your quiver, come forward. Left arm reaches out. Sit back to your quiver. Pull yourself up. And both arms come up. And just lean forward a little bit, rest and breathe. Eyes open or closed, welcoming a moment back into your present time experience. And then we're going to all figure out how to come onto your back. So if you want a little more challenge, float your arms up and roll back slowly. Challenging, but not quite as challenging. Hold on to your legs. You can come all the way back onto your back. Give yourself a moment, maybe a hand on your chest, maybe one on your lower ribs. Reconnecting the breath in between and through your hands. If you're somewhere where you have to wear a mask, let the mask give you some feedback. Are you mouth breathing or nose breathing? Try and reconnect to the breath through your nose. And the breath through the nose, through the chest, all the way into your lower ribs. Then bending your knees. And as long as you don't have hip replacement surgery here, you could windshield wiper your knees side to side. Going slow, getting a little inner outer thigh stretch. Pay close attention to the feeling in your back. We don't need any unnecessary pinching. So as your knees go side to side, you're in control. We're not just flopping the knees open. And then coming all the way back, you could stay right here moving. You could bring your knees back. You could take a full body stretch. We always take the last minute, minute and a half, 2 minutes on our own. So coming back to your experience, trying to practice from a place of mindful self-compassion. So meaning we treat ourselves like we would treat our very closest best friend. What do we feel? What do we need here? Maybe we rest for a minute, minute and a half. Maybe there's a favorite stretch that we haven't done that you really want to spend some time doing and breathing through. So we'll take the last minute, minute and a half here in silence, allowing you time to listen and feel both your body and your breath. Checking in with your breathing. The relationship of your body as it's moving, or maybe it's in stillness. Can you feel the wave of your breath? We'll take 2 or 3 breaths here. And if you're stretching and moving, coming back to more of a neutral midline shape, so maybe back to like constructive rest or child's pose. And if you're on your back, you can draw your knees way up into your chest or take a full body stretch. It might feel comfortable to rock a little bit side to side. So still from a place of mindful self-awareness, rolling over to the easiest side, we'll roll all the way on up to sitting. We'll take your arms out and up and do a little bit of upper back arm stretch and a little bit of side bending. Stay nice and anchored through the floor, really stretch to the sides and reach up. Thanks everyone. Happy Tuesday. It's really good to be back. So thanks for joining us online. Thanks for coming in person. It's great to be back. Welcome to 2022. Thanks everyone.